Style and his icon once again. We're about to go over the longest party of the summer, Summerslam 2019, live from Toronto, Canada. There are a lot of matches. We're going to be here for a while. I'm going to try to keep it short, keep it tight, but also keep it informative, and we'll start things off right out the gate, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the first match of the night, no surprise to anybody, was the Cruiserweight Championship match between Oney Lorcan and Drew Gulak. And although I am a fan of Drew Gulak, I'm a very big fan of his. I like his style, I like his wrestling ability. I was a little bit disappointed with the match, not because of Gulak, but because of Oney Lorcan, because on NXT, Lorcan actually does some pretty cool shit, and, you know, he's more brutal, he's a little more aggressive, and I don't know, he just wasn't the person that I'm used to seeing. I mean, he still did what he did, it just wasn't to the extent that I'm used to seeing, but, you know, but Gulak, like I said, but you know, it was hard-hitting slaps and punches and kicks, and, you know, honestly, if this match took place on NXT, it probably would have gotten a bigger reaction because it would have had more time, but Drew Gulak is still your Cruiserweight champion, and he's taking the no-fly zone to heights that it's never seen before because he's not gonna fly. So we'll see let's see who his next opponent is. Maybe Swerve Scott on 205 Live. So the next match was actually a surprise match. Apollo Crews, of all people, my boy Apollo Crews, he got a impromptu kickoff match versus Buddy Murphy, and as soon as I heard that, I was like, well, Buddy Murphy's kind of in a storyline with Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns and them, so I was just like, alright, so I guess they have to make Buddy Murphy a thing now, and Apollo Crews is going to be the sacrificial lamb. But to my surprise, the two of them didn't really get going that long. The match probably went on for maybe like 3 or 4 minutes, and then Eric Rowan came out and started beating the living hell out of Buddy Murphy, which is funny because Apollo Crews ended up losing. Anyway, he was beating up Buddy Murphy, saying, keep my name out your mouth, because Buddy Murphy blamed the attack on Roman Reigns on Rowan. So he got his ass whooped for that. And it was funny because, like, guys in the crowd, like when Rowan was beating up Buddy Murphy, people in the crowd were chanting "snitches get stitches." So it seemed pretty appropriate. And after that, Rowan left, Apollo got disqualified, and then the match got scrapped. So we'll see what happens, because the Buddy Murphy thing now looks like it's going to be a thing going forward. So Elias came out after that in the ring, and he flat out cut ass on Toronto. He said that the building I think was something like the building sold out, which is something that never happens at a Blue Jays game. He said the only thing missing in Toronto was the Stanley Cup, and he said he can't wait to leave Toronto, just like Kawhi Leonard did, which I thought was hilarious. And then after that, Edge's music hit. Go figure. I keep forgetting Edge's from Canada. Edge's theme music hit, of all people. He comes in the ring, gave Elias the spear. The crowd went crazy. Good moment. Edge looks like he can still go, but they just won't clear him to wrestle. And that was it. So Elias's time is done, unless he pops up later on in the night. But good to see Edge, especially in Toronto, so that was pretty cool. So the final match of the kickoff show was my future baby mama Peyton Royce and Billie Kay versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Rematch because Iconics did not lose their titles by being pinned. So, naturally they get a rematch. There was really nothing, there was no story really in the match. I mean, the Iconics came out, they cut a promo on the fact that they were going to try to get their belts back after never being pinned for them, which makes perfect sense, but there's no story between both of those teams, so, and they already announced that Nikki and Alexa were going to fight the Kabuki Warriors on Monday, so they weren't going to mess that up. So, typical fashion, despite Peyton and Billie Kay looking good, Peyton, Billie Kay had she looked like the witch from Sleeping Beauty, but they lost. Alexa and Nikki won. Obviously, everyone saw that coming, and they are still your women's tag team champions. So we'll see what happens on Monday. So the actual SummerSlam pay-per-view kicked off with the Raw Women's Tag Team match, which was a little surprise to me. Becky Lynch, the Man, versus Natalya in Canada, and despite being in Canada, there's a lot of Becky Lynch fans out there. There were a lot of man signs. The crowd was actually cheering, "Let's go, Becky." There was a moment where Natalya even kind of like told someone in the audience to shut up because I guess she didn't appreciate getting booed in her own country. But Natty came to play. Like, Natty put up a damn good fight. There was one point where she even did a sharpshooter in the turnbuckle in the corner and had Becky wrapped up, which made the crowd go crazy. And for a couple of seconds, they got a "This is awesome" chant from the audience. So, I mean, for some reason, to me, it kind of felt like this was Natty's last match. I don't know what it is. I just got that vibe that it was like a career-ending match for her, but I guess we'll see if she announces some retirement or something like that. So that's it. I mean, Lacey Evans is done. Natalya's done. I mean, unless Ronda Rousey comes back, I would assume that the next challenger for Becky Lynch would have to be Naomi, because Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are the women's tag team champions. So, but that was it. Congrats to the man, Becky Lynch, and we'll see who her next opponent is starting tomorrow on Raw. So the next match was Goldberg versus Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph Ziggler, who looked like he flat out raided Shawn Michaels' closet. He did try in the beginning of the match. He actually, from the opening bell, he super kicked Goldberg into next Tuesday. Goldberg hit the mat pretty hard, then he gave him a second kick to the gut. He tried for the third one, which resulted into him getting speared literally out of his boots, where he basically ended up on the back of his neck. Jackhammer, 1, 2, 3. It doesn't make up for, what happened in Saudi Arabia, but at least he tried. It's a good lasting impression, so can't really be mad at that. After Goldberg walked up the ramp, Dolph Ziggler basically grabbed the mic and started talking that shit and said that Goldberg couldn't fight him man-to-man, which was weird because I could have sworn he just did. So Goldberg got back in the ring, speared him again, the crowd went crazy, and Goldberg redeemed himself for Saudi Arabia. So Dolph Ziggler started talking that shit a third time, where he said that Goldberg basically was a bitch and he ain't shit. So Goldberg came back out for a third time to put some respect on his name. He speared Dolph Ziggler into next year's SummerSlam, and he once again redeemed himself for Saudi Arabia, and I can't even be mad at that. Can someone please get the ambulance to scoop up Dolph Ziggler's teeth from off the ground? Alright, so after that it was Ricochet versus the phenomenal AJ Styles with the OC at ringside. Ricochet had no help. He came out dressed like Nightwing, which I appreciated as a Nightwing fan. Good matchup, although judging by Ricochet's moveset, he's not the brightest bulb. He's not the brightest bulb in the, in the socket. He was just doing a lot of dumb shit that was furthering his injury. Doing a lot of cool stuff, got the crowd involved, but, the OC basically cheated the entire time. They kept jumping on the apron, kept getting the referee's attention. The referee never threw him out, so it was typical heel shit. The end of the match, though, was actually pretty cool because towards the end, Ricochet got on the top rope, did a 360 reverse Dragon Rana, whatever you want to call it, and it looked like he was going for a Dragon Rana, and he landed in perfect position. AJ Styles caught him by the legs and set him up for the Styles Clash. 1, 2, 3, AJ Styles is still your United States champion. After that, the club basically whooped Ricochet's ass. So I would assume he's going to get some help when Raw comes around because he's definitely going to need it. But until he gets some backup and decides to take on the OC, they still walking around with the gold. So we'll see what happens on Raw. Alright, so after that was the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Ember Moon and Bayley. The match was actually pretty good. The crowd was a little dead, I guess, coming out of the AJ Ricochet match. Plus, for some reason, Bayley's just not popular in Canada. She gets booed every single time she goes to Canada. But the crowd was quiet, but they weren't really like against her. Ember Moon put up a good show. I mean, she definitely put up a good showing. I know in her last set of SmackDown matches, she didn't really do too good, so she didn't necessarily have any momentum or a winning record going into the pay-per-view, but she definitely put the respect on her name. Like, she came and she fought a good fight, but in the end it was a Bayley to belly from off the top rope, which put Ember Moon down, and Bayley retains the SmackDown Women's Championship. There are a lot of women on SmackDown, so she'll have plenty of challengers, and I hope Ember Moon gets another shot at it because she'll definitely be a good champion going forward. Next was Shane O'Mac versus the hero of Canada, Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, who came out of the ring and got the ovation of a lifetime. Home crowd, Canada, everybody hates Shane. despite the fact that he's the best in the world. I mean, typical Shane McMahon fight. Elias was brought out by Shane as the special guest enforcer, referee, whatever you want to call him, which means there was cheating going on left and right. They almost did the Eddie Guerrero thing with the chair, with the referee not looking, and Kevin Owens had a chair at one point. The referee took it from him, and then when the referee turned around to get rid of the chair, Kevin Owens hit Shane McMahon in the money. He hit him right in the money sack, gave him the stunner, and got the 1, 2, 3, and the crowd went crazy. So we'll see what happens now, because it's been a long time coming. This is Shane's first loss, I think, in 2019, because he's pretty much won at every single pay-per-view that he's been in. Beat Roman Reigns, beat Kevin Owens, beat The Miz like 2 or 3 times. So Shane McMahon finally gets his comeuppance, and we'll see what Stone Cold Kevin Owens has for us going forward. Alright, so now we had Charlotte Flair versus Trish Stratus legacy fight, which was a good one. The entire match was based around the fact that Charlotte kept saying that the women from Trish's era couldn't wrestle, and they would just pin up broads, and Trish's whole thing was like, girls like her paved the way, which created the conflict. And it was actually a very real narrative, especially back in those times with the Divas and everything. And, and to the surprise, this was a very good match. I was very impressed. I enjoyed the match. And not because of Charlotte. Like, Trish actually, if both these women came out to prove a narrative, like, Trish actually succeeded, in proving her narrative that she could actually go. And I'm sitting here watching the match, the whole time I'm thinking, Trish could wrestle Becky. She could wrestle Sasha Banks. She could wrestle Naomi or Bayley. Like, Trish can actually still do it. Maybe she had a little extra because she was in Canada. Who knows? She bust out all the classics. The headstand, head scissor, the Stratus faction, the chick kick. She even put Charlotte in the figure 8, and even did the figure 8 with the bridge. And Trish basically proved to the world that, listen, she wasn't just a pinup girl in a weak Divas era, that she can actually go. And I really hope she has another match after this. But as always, nobody really knew that Trish was gonna win. Like, nobody expected her to win, and of course, Charlotte with the figure 8 got the victory, and Trish got the crowd acknowledgement and the standing ovation, because when she retired the first time, she won her match. She walked away as the women's champion, and this time she took the L. She finally did the honor. She did the JOB. And the crowd got a chance to, give her a send-off. And again, me personally, I hope she does come back again, like once in a blue moon, and have a couple of matches with some other people. But if this was her last hurrah, it was very well deserved. So kudos to Trish. Charlotte won, and we'll see what Charlotte has to complain about on SmackDown this Tuesday. Alright, so third to last, we have Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship. A match built off of 10 years of bad blood. And for the most part, I couldn't really tell if the fans, because they're in Canada, so the Canadians are weird. Like, I couldn't tell if they were like on Kofi's side or not on Kofi's side. There were chants of Kofi's stupid, Orton sucks, and then the people weren't really happy at the end. It was definitely a good back and forth between both of them. There were no botched moves or whatever. Everything looked good. Cross bodies, drop kicks. There was even a moment where Kofi came off the top rope, and then Orton caught him with the catch finisher RKO. And the two of them ended up on the outside. When they were on the outside, Orton, got the better of Kofi. And then Kofi's kids and his wife, they were at ringside. He picked up Kofi. He was pointing at his wife, pointing at his kids. The bell rung, because I guess Orton stayed outside too long, and then it ended up being a double countout. And then once the double countout happened, the fans basically just shitted on the rest of the match. The fans weren't happy. They started chanting bullshit, and they wanted to see a winner. The half of the building that was cheering for Kofi wanted to see a winner. Nobody wanted to see a double count out. And then Kofi just went ballistic, because he, because Orton tried to disrespect him in front of his kids and his wife. So Kofi took out the kendo stick and, and wore Orton out with it, which is good, because at least we got to see Kofi get some sort of, comeuppance or some vengeance for what happened 10 years ago. So, I would like to have seen Kofi actually get the pin, but what this says is that the feud between these two aren't over yet. So, double count out tonight, and I expect a rematch at Night of Champions. Now we have the Fiend versus the regular non-demon Finn Balor. So you already know right out the gate Finn Balor is going to lose this one. Bray Wyatt came out. It was very creepy. He came out with his old head, with his head, like the original Bray Wyatt head, as a lantern, and he had a lantern light bulb inside of his old Bray Wyatt head. The Fiend had the Fiend mask on, which basically looks like, the kind of way they presented it was like he tore his own facial skin off and made a lantern out of it, and now he just has like the Fiend mask on. Bray Wyatt actually got in shape for this, so like my boy H. Dot said, when you're banging JoJo, I mean, I guess you got to get that platinum membership. The match didn't last that long. It was more so like a squash match, just to get Bray Wyatt over. And with the mandible claw into the pin, the Fiend gets the win, to the chant of "that was awesome." So the crowd at the arena, they agree with the new Bray Wyatt. There's definitely going to be a Fiend versus Demon match in the future, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. And finally, the final match of the night, which was also the surprise of the night, Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And going into the match, there was not one single person on the face of this entire planet who thought Seth Rollins would beat Brock Lesnar for the Universal Championship. And that's exactly what happened. Seth Rollins did a frog splash through the table. He threw him into the pole a bunch of times, gave him a bunch of curb stomps, came in there with his ribs taped up, and for all intents and purposes, Seth Rollins got a clean victory. I mean, he threw everything at Brock, including the kitchen sink, but yeah, no chair, no cheating, no low blows, no nothing. Seth got a clean win over Brock Lesnar. Go figure. I'm shocked. I'm completely shocked. Seth Rollins is your new, once again, Universal Champion. And I have no idea where they're going to go from here. Maybe he'll get a new challenger. I hope he gets a new challenger, because then Brock can take a back seat. But bring Bobby Lashley back. Let's see Lashley versus Seth Rollins. I'd really like to see that match. But that was the only title that changed hands. Like, no other title changed hands tonight. Every champion kept their belts except Brock. So go figure. Overall, I was impressed. So we'll see what happens tomorrow morning, and we'll see if Brock Lesnar demands a rematch or if Seth will just move on to a new challenger. So that was it. That was the SummerSlam 2019 pay-per-view in a nutshell. It was actually a good show. And it ended early, which I'm very excited about, because now I get to go to bed. I get to go to bed early. The show actually finished at 10:30, where these things usually extend to like 10:45 or 11. Overall, I give the show an 8. There weren't a lot of surprises on the show, but a lot of good matches. There was definitely a lot of good wrestling. So I give the show like a solid 8. Only one belt change hands, I guess, the Universal Championship title, but it's definitely a lot to look forward to. I mean, Clash of Champions is up next. Shinsuke and the New Day didn't defend their title, so maybe they'll do theirs this week. But no, but good show. Like, I'm actually impressed. I mean, the Canadian fans were a little weird with as far as like who they cheered for and who they booed, but can't complain. Good show, WWE. Like I said, I'm looking forward to see what happens on the weeklies. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Another SummerSlam is in the books, and until next time, as always, I'm out this bitch.